Let's get some analysis. I'm joined by Nigel Phair, Professor of Cybersecurity at Monash University. Thanks for your time, Nigel. What did you make of the Minister's comments there? Is that the right course of action? Because a ban full stop does have complications, she argues.
Yeah, for sure, Kieran. She's making sense there with what she's saying. Of course, we want to dissuade cyber criminals from picking on Australia. We don't want to be the low-hanging fruit that we presently are. And one of those things is to stop organisations paying ransom. But like everything in life, you can't ban everything. And there's so many different types of ransomware out there at the moment that the example she gave, for example, a hospital, is a very real one. The health sector is heavily targeted, and we need to look at it proportionally and look at all the other things that need to be done by government and business to stop cyber attacks.
So a ban full stop on ransoms, you think would be problematic?
Very problematic.
Now, the government's undertaking a range of stress tests with banking, with aviation, various sectors. Is this the right path to achieve what the Minister calls her aim of being the most safe country in the world by 2030 in a cyber sense?
A great aspirational aim, and let's hope we get there. The stress testing, the scenario testing is a really good idea. The reality is we have data breaches day in and day out. Some of them are prominent, as we've seen in the last, let's say, 6 months. Organisations need to practice what they're going to do if they're going to be next. They need to take their head out of the sand and say, we're not a bank, we won't get attacked. And they need to go, so if our networks don't work tomorrow morning when we come into work and we get a ransomware demand or something else, what do we actually do? What's the workaround? What do we tell customers? What do we tell clients, stakeholders, etc.? How do we respond? How do we get our networks back operating again?
Do you think it's achievable to get to that goal of the most safe country in the world?
I think it's very achievable. It requires a lot of things, though. It requires security by design for our hardware and our software that our organisations implement. It requires a risk management approach by company directors to understand the data that their organisations hold and use. And it includes things like intelligence-led penetration testing to test the systems, to actually brute force our own internal networks, to work out where the vulnerabilities are and then subsequently patch those vulnerabilities. All that's a huge piece of work.
The government's had these stress tests with the regulators already, the Federal Police, APRA and others. Now they're going to go one-on-one with the banks. Is this the right way to do this sort of thing, do you believe? And beyond banks, aviation, where else does the government need to look?
I think the government should look at every critical infrastructure sector. And we've just had a redefinition of what is critical infrastructure. And there's now somewhere between 10 and 12 definitions of critical infrastructure. So it's banking and finance, the big logical one. It's healthcare sector, it's aviation, it's cloud. You know, we put a lot of data in the cloud now. So they should go through each of those sectors methodically and make sure that they're up to the game of incident response. But even before that, that they're actually risk managing the data they collect.
How well placed is our corporate sector?
Poorly placed. Outside of the banking and finance sector, very poorly placed.
So where does it stack up internationally by
it's a good one,
international standards? Are we talking sort of really low in terms of OECD countries?
Very low, and hence why we have all these ransomware and other cyber attacks. It's why we had 67,500 matters reported to the Australian Cybersecurity Centre last year, which I think they said is 1 every 7 minutes. That's how low we are.
Nigel Phair, great to see you. Thanks.